Hi everybody, it's me again, back for lesson 2. Glad to see ya. Hope you're all doing fine and studying for your citizenship test. That song is God America the Beautiful. It's a really good one. I'd like to go back to something I forgot to say in lesson 1. At the very end of lesson 1, the 10th question was, what is the freedom of religion? You'll see that question here. What is freedom of religion? So I wanted to be sure that I gave you the answer to that. The answer, as you can see, is you can practice any religion or not practice a religion. This is important because the immigrants that came to the United States were in countries that sometimes would not allow them to practice any religion except the one that the king or the ruler said they had to practice. So, freedom of religion, it's not only being able to pick your religion, but it's also to be able to not practice any particular religion if you prefer. And that's really important because that goes with our freedoms and the pursuit of happiness. So I just wanted to go over that one. I did want to show you that I'm growing some flowers. As you'll see, here's the blue one. A friend of mine brought me some flowers today, so I thought you would like to see some of the flowers that I'm growing. So let's get started. Question number 11 is, what is the economic system in the U.S.? The economic system in the U.S., you can answer with one of two words. You can say capitalism or free market. And you'll see I made here a learner's mall. And in this mall, we have all the different stores. We have Anthony's Games for $25, Maria's Flowers $2 each, Rocio's Foods $3 each, Brisa's Shoes, she's high dollar, $500 each, and Armita's Desserts $15 each. If we were in class where I was up at the whiteboard, I would go through the math and say, well, for instance, on Brisa, she would have to pay $300 for this pair of shoes. She's selling them for $500, so she's making $200 profit. Then we would go through Maria's Flowers. By the time she grows them, she's already spent $1 on every flower. So every time she sells one for $2, she makes a profit. Just the point is that in America, you can decide what you would like to sell and buy, and you can decide the prices for which you will sell and buy things. Of course, in the big picture, this goes for giant corporations buying and selling their products and the materials that they need to make their products. But let's say Brisa has her price at $500 and she realizes she's not selling many shoes. She has the choice to lower her price to $4.50 and see if maybe that works. Rocio is working hard selling her food for $3 each. Maybe she wants to raise her price to $4. This is capitalism in a very easy example. So the answer to the economic system in the U.S. is capitalism or free market. Either of those answers is correct. The next one is, what is the rule of law? And really that's kind of, that question is kind of nutty, because it would be better if it said, explain the rule of law. Or do each of us have to pay attention to the rule of law? The rule of law is that everybody has to follow the law in the United States. So here are some people. Do they each have to follow the law in the United States? Well, Brad and Jen, Batman. Oh, there's Nancy Pelosi. And, oh, There's Edel. Does even J-Lo have to follow the rule of law in the United States? Yes. J-Lo has to follow it. All these people, everybody in the United States, citizens and non-citizens, must follow the rule of law. So the rule of law is that everybody has to follow it. Now I'll show you another one of my flowers that I'm growing. This is a tulip, as you can see, and I really like it because it has some of the colors of our flag, the Star Spangled Banner. So I thought I would show you that flower that I'm growing. Okay. The next thing that we need to learn about is what stops, name one branch of our government. Okay. Our government is divided into 3 branches: Congress, the President, and the courts. But remember, you only have to name one of them. Only have to name one. So, if the question is name one of the 3 branches of government, you can answer in a couple different ways. You'll notice I have courts, president, and Congress underlined in blue, and the other words underlined in red. That's because each branch of government has 2 names. For instance, the courts can also be called the judicial branch. The president can also be called the executive branch. And Congress can also be called the legislative branch. So, the answer to this question, name one branch of government, is very easy. You only have to say one word. A lot of my students say the president. That's the one they can remember. A lot of my students say Congress. That's the one they can remember. But you don't have to remember all 6 of these words, but they're all correct. All of these are words for branches of our government. Remember, in the Constitution that we talked about, we said that the Constitution sets out the government, or sets up the government. The Constitution said we're going to have 3 branches of government, and here are our 3 branches. So, if I was telling you we had 3 branches, I might say we have the courts, the president, the Congress. Or I might say legislative, executive, judicial. It would still be correct either way. So what stops one branch of government from becoming too powerful? Well, I'm going to give you an example. Here's a question that many of you might have from your teenagers. Mom, can I drive the car? And Mom says, it's okay with me, but ask your dad. And Dad says, it's okay, it is okay. So Mom and Dad and the teen are 3 parts of this government. But nothing happens with the teen until Mom and Dad say okay. They are the checks and balances of the teen. Checks and balances is the answer to what stops one branch of government from becoming too powerful. So now let's do an example with our 3 branches of government. Congress says we want to pass this law. Okay? President says, yes, I will sign it. The court says, no, it is not constitutional. Oh. So in this case, the 3 branches of government checked each other, and then one of them said, no, that can't be a law. And it could be the Congress that won't write the law. It could be the president that won't sign the law. In this case, it was the court that checked it. Checks and balances. So Congress, the president, and the courts have checks and balances on one another. So the answer, what stops one branch of government from becoming too powerful, is checks and balances. Now, who is in charge of the executive branch? Well, executive, there's another word for that branch, president. So the president is in charge of the executive branch. President is also known as the commander-in-chief. So that's a pretty big name. So we know that the president is in charge of the executive branch. Who makes the federal laws? And by this they mean who writes the laws. You and I send our ideas, our needs, what we think should be a law to our senators and representatives. They discuss it with the other senators and representatives, and finally they write up a law. Once they make that law, so Congress makes the laws, then it goes through the checks and balances of the president and the courts. But the actual writing of the law is done in Congress. Okay, then it wants to know, the next question, number 17, what are the two parts of Congress? Well, you'll notice when I've drawn this, I've drawn two parts, but one is much smaller than the other. The two parts of Congress are the Senate and the House of Representatives. So, there must be a reason that I drew one way bigger than the other. And this is another question that comes a little later, but I thought we should go over it right now while we're talking about the two parts of Congress. The Senate has 100 senators. The House of Representatives has way more people involved, 435. So Congress is made up of 100 senators and 435 representatives in the House of Representatives. So you can see that the two parts of Congress are really different, and we will talk about why they're different in another question. The next question asks, how many senators do we have? Well, we just answered that by knowing that there are 50 states times 2 senators for each state. It doesn't matter if it's a big state like California or New York, or a small state like Rhode Island or Maine or Massachusetts or even Oklahoma. 2 senators for each state, which makes 100 senators. Well, we're going to stop there for today. I want to remind you to go to the USCIS website because you can do practice tests there. And they're fun and they'll help you stay up with your learning. Also, don't forget to go to your Duolingo site or whatever site you use to work on your English. We are going to have some lessons in English, but for now I hope you're keeping up on your Duolingo. I do want to show you a couple more flowers. This one's a really beautiful one that I grew. It kind of looks like Post-it notes, maybe a little bit. And then the best flower of all is this one that has grown in my garden that amazingly looks like little American flags. So it goes in perfectly with our lesson. Well, I better go put these flowers in some water. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being with me today. I want to thank Rogers County Literacy Council, the Oklahoma Department of Libraries, and the Institute of Museum and Library Services. It's been great, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.